You ever had someone look you dead in the eye, in front of a whole room, and call you trash? Not just any room, man, entire community. Cops standing behind them, like you're already convicted. That's how this story started. Picture a woman in a light blue suit, nails sharp as her tongue, pointing at my face and spitting out, "You're just trailer trash playing dress-up, Thatcher." She tossed her words out like rotten eggs, and every person in those folding chairs, 300 strong, HOA loyalists, soaked it up. I was the main act, the outsider circus freak, standing alone under flickering fluorescent lights that made the whole place feel like some police lineup. She went on, loud enough for the back row. "This vagrant claims he owns our land." Can you imagine? Even the cops behind her, hands on their belts, looked like they wanted to be anywhere else. Me? I just gripped my single, crumpled piece of yellowed paper. It smelled like dust and every broken promise in my family history. Now, I know what it's like when folks decide you're the villain before you even open your mouth. Those are the moments that split you in two. You can crumble, or you can stand your ground and let the truth swing for you. I chose the latter. No shouting, no speeches. Just held that paper higher, letting every camera phone catch the federal seal, the ancient date 1873, and a signature that belonged to a man whose face is on the $50 bill. I caught a flicker in Celinda Blackmore's Aisa hairline crack in her perfect armor just for a split second. She pulled herself together, but the damage was done. The sergeant, with a face full of years and regret, asked, "Sir, I'm going to need you to explain what's happening here." So I told him, calm as lake water, 567 families built their homes on land my family's owned since President Ulysses S. Grant signed this deed 152 years ago. Nobody checked the records. The room exploded. But let me rewind, take you back 72 hours before this mess, to a cold October night in a mountain clearing, 3 a.m., a shovel, and a secret my grandfather took to his grave. The pine trees pressed in tight, silent witnesses, while I dug through 8 hours of roots and rock, chasing a map drawn in a dead man's shaky hand. My name's Thatcher Grimwood. Up until 3 weeks ago, I was nobody. 38, 12 years examining old papers for the state archives. No family left, nobody bothered to show up for Grandpa Ezekiel's funeral except a preacher who couldn't pronounce our name and a lawyer I'd never met. Afterward, I was handed an envelope that would flip my whole world upside down. Inside was a hand-drawn map, all faded and cryptic, pointing to a spot deep in the Cascade foothills. Grandpa's notes were like a paranoid treasure hunt. Dig where the 3 oaks meet the stream. 6 feet down. Do it at night. Trust no one. It sounded crazy, but there I was up to my elbows in cold mud, forensic training screaming at me. But something deeper, something old kept me going. When the shovel finally struck metal, I dropped to my knees and scraped away dirt until a steel lockbox appeared, military grade, rusted but still holding. Smashed it open with a rock, and inside, wrapped up like it was waiting for me, was a surveyor's map from 1873, a patent deed signed by President Grant himself, and a letter from Josiah Grimwood, my great-great-grandfather. The letter was the kind that makes your blood go cold. To my descendants who find this, vultures will circle our land. They will claim it through lies and manipulation. The deed stays buried until the rightful heir is ready to fight. The land remembers its true owner. I sat there till dawn, reading and rereading every word. Every test, every trained instinct said it was real. According to the map, those 1,000 acres included every inch of what's now Cascade Pinesa $1 billion worth of luxury homes, all sitting on stolen soil. By afternoon, I was driving my battered pickup past rows of perfect lawns and fresh paint. The security guard looked me up and down, half sneer, half threat, before calling up Celinda Blackmore herself. She glided up in a golf cart mid-50s, silver hair, blue suit, a face like she'd never had a bad day in her life. I handed her a photocopy of the deed, not the original. "Is this some kind of joke?" she said, barely glancing at it. You own our land? Go back to your trailer before I call the sheriff. She chucked the paper back at me, already dialing for law enforcement. So I waited. I set up outside the entrance with all the original documents, ready for the showdown. The deputy who finally came, Martinez, actually looked at the papers young, sharp, not immediately hostile. I told him my plan: take everything to the county office, prove the chain of title. He looked skeptical, but not dismissive. Next morning, I was the first person at the records office. Margaret, the clerk, just sighed and pointed me toward the basement dusty, endless rows of blue filing cabinets, a bureaucratic purgatory. Hours passed, but by noon, I had it. The original patent, every inheritance, all correct until 1986. That's when things got weird. A document from 1986 claimed the Grimwood family had died out no heirs, land reverting to the state. But Grandpa was alive, living just 30 miles away. The document was a forgery, signed by a county clerk and filed by Reginald Blackmore, Celinda's father. I spent the next week tracing the fraud, photographing everything, building a timeline. The Blackmores faked a death certificate, claimed the land was unclaimed, bought it for pennies through a shell company, then sold it to developers. Every home in Cascade Pines was built on a foundation of lies. The family that owned the land hid the proof, too beaten down to fight. Meanwhile, the Blackmores ran the place like their own kingdom. But I knew I couldn't win this alone. That's when Harlan Westbrook showed up. Imagine a private, out-of-noir flick late 50s, stone face, leather jacket. He slid into my diner booth like he owned it. "You're about to turn Cascade Pines upside down," he said. Harlan had been hunting the Blackmores for years, turns out. His sister's family lost everything in a similar scam. A fire took them out, ruled an accident. He handed me a folder of evidence, dirt, the whole twisted family history. "You're in danger," he said, "but you're also the best shot at justice this county's seen in decades." He offered me a place to stay, off-grid, while we built a war room, documents, red string, photos tacked to the walls. It became clear Celinda's network reached everywhere: her brother at the assessor's office, her old college roommate on the planning commission, even a judge who'd ruled on every HOA dispute for 20 years. "We go federal," Harlan said. "RICO charges. The kind of thing that brings down mafia families." He called his old FBI contacts. But to force their hand, we needed a Show the Cascade Pines annual meeting, a public arena, federal agents in the back row. For 2 weeks, we prepared every line, every document, every angle. Day of the meeting, nerves raw, I walked in with Harlan shadowing me. Celinda was there, playing politician for her people, but when she saw me, her smile froze. I handed over a petition, 23 resident signatures, just enough to force a hearing. She tried to shut me down, but Deputy Martinez, now in uniform, now officially involved, stepped in. "Let the man speak." So I did. Held up the patent deed, told the story. "My family's owned this land for 150 years. It was stolen by fraud. I have the proof. Every home here was built on a lie." The crowd went wild, shouting, demanding answers. Celinda screamed for security, but by then, the 2 federal agents at the back stepped up. "Celinda Blackmore, we need to talk about federal charges." That was the moment her world cracked. She tried to bolt, but Harlan blocked the exit. The cuffs snapped shut. The room went silent. Now, here's where life gives you a choice. Legally, I could have evicted every single homeowner, leveled the place, claimed my billion-dollar prize. But standing in that room, looking at scared faces, parents, kids, old folks clutching each other, I saw they were victims too. So I offered a deal: 99-year leases, $1 a year, as long as everyone cooperated in bringing the fraudsters to justice. An old man stood up. "After all they did to your family, why show us mercy?" I told him the truth. Land remembers its owner, but forgiveness builds a community. My ancestors didn't fight to make an empire, they wanted a home. Protecting families, not destroying them, honors that memory. A slow clap turned into a standing ovation. 6 months later, Celinda was sentenced to 15 years. Her brother got 8. The judge disbarred, and the community, now renamed Grimwood Heights, was thriving safer, stronger, honest. Harlan and I stood on my grandfather's porch, coffee in hand, watching the sunset over the land that finally came home. Prosecutors called it a blueprint for justice across the country. If you've stuck with me this far, let me ask, what would you have done in my place? Would you chase revenge or give folks a second chance? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Justice, mercy, karma, it's never as simple as black and white. And if you got a story or just want to see what justice looks like next time, hit subscribe. This isn't the last you'll hear of the Grimwoods or the fight for what's right.
Cảm ơn tất cả các bạn đã xem video.